do that to my students.
Yeah?
And now, are you ready? But are you ready now?
Uh-huh. See, that is the question. Oh, boy.
What's your shirt say?
Oh, it's Chinese Culture Club. You know, Chinese Culture Club.
Are you in Chinese Culture Club? Are you the president?
No.
Why not?
Well, you know what? The person did it. They're in IB Chinese, so they kind of did it, you know.
Are you in IB Chinese?
Chinese 3. I skipped a year of Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you manage that?
I don't know. I just asked for it and they give it to me. But
Really? But don't you have to know things?
Yeah. That's why I Chinese 1. But Chinese 2, you know, I couldn't have it because of theater, but.
And now you're in Chinese 3?
Mm-hmm.
So did you just study to catch up? Are you caught up?
Nope. But you know, one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Cool. So this is the ordinary show. You know, we had like a weird start, but that was cool. I like that.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm Diego. You are?
Loralei Atchley.
Cool. And yeah, so we're just going to talk. You can ask me questions like you just did, or I can ask you.
I'm going to.
Okay, yeah.
Because I want to hear more about what is Chinese 3 like.
Oh, it's really, you know, it's a struggle because, you know, the teacher's really nice in the sense that, you know, I like that she expects the same from everybody. I'm the only kid who skipped a year, but she still treats me like as if I didn't. And that's difficult. But at the same time, it's really encouraging because once I do something that other people can do, it's kind of like I did that, you know. It's like I'm proud of myself rather than being in a class with people that do the same things. You know, you don't get the same accomplishment, so that's kind of why I'm like, I enjoy it so thoroughly, but at the same time, it's double the disappointment if I do fail. So, I mean...
Wait a minute. You skipped a year, so why is it double the disappointment if you do fail? Because can't you expect some failures occasionally?
True, but it was my choice to do it, so I can't really, you know, necessarily say, well, you know what, I skipped a year, it's fine if I fail. It's more like I skipped a year, I expected myself to continue through with this, and I will work my hardest to be able to catch up with these people who know that but didn't work as hard. Because, you know, I don't want to be the kid that's below and has these constant failures because he skipped a year. I want to be the kid that skipped a year and now has these successes because he's worked so hard to get there.
So, wait. So, Chinese has a textbook?
No.
Or does she just create that? So,
Yeah,
so did you access somebody's notes? Like, how do you try to make up for what all the things that I mean, did you miss a ton of vocabulary?
Well, you know what? She kind of like... Well, yeah, I got the notebook of somebody, but it doesn't help you so much like looking at the words and saying, oh, that's that, you know? Like if you were trying to learn Spanish, you wouldn't just look at Spanish words and say, oh, that's what that means in English and not, you know, you might memorize some things, but they won't stick to you as much as if you talk it in the class, and that's what we do. Yeah, we talk it, and that's how I know certain things more than when I got somebody's notebook, read it, and then was like, okay, this means that, but I forgot it the next day.
Although, it is helpful to do flashcards and memorize the words.
Of course.
Because then hopefully they'll come to your mind when you need to say them. Or you'll at least recognize them when somebody else says them.
Definitely.
Okay, so now what is Chinese Culture Club?
I mean, we kind of just, it's like the Chinese class, but it has a club, so it's pretty much it.
So what do you guys do?
I don't know. We work in the class, and then, you know, we want to do something, we just do it.
Like what?
I know we're going to go on a field trip this Tuesday.
Where are you going?
I don't know. I forgot.
During class? I mean, during school?
Yes.
It's not to the Buddhist temple?
No. It's a temple. There? I don't know what temple, though.
Oh. Do you know where?
Arcadia. It's in Arcadia. Somewhere in Arcadia.
Okay. Well, that sounds fun.
Yep. You know, you're really good at this. You've taken hostage of my own show. I like that though. I like that. Well, now it's my turn to throw something at you. Okay. You know, you're very intelligent and you're very you can control things very well. And I have a question. You know,
That's what teachers do.
Yeah, that's what teachers do. Yeah. So with the experience you have and everything, how do you, man? I mean, like you have such a great control on things, but yet you're so free with everything. It's like, in the class I felt like I was really free, but at the same time there was a control to it. How do you do that? How do you just be so lenient with things, but at the same time have them like under control?
Well, that's what you aim for, and you hope that happens. So are you asking in my class?
Well,
first of all, I have wonderful students, and that's really the truth. And as for me, what's important is building a relationship with my students so that hopefully we're all on the same page. And then you were in my honors classes. My honors classes, kids want to learn. And I want to hear what they have to say, because we're all intelligent people in the classroom. And that's also true. And I'm interested in what kids are thinking, and I'm interested in literature. So I don't feel like I have to control every minute. But of course, I do have like an overarching plan for what I'm aiming for my students. Like yesterday, my goal was for us to discuss something in depth. So I had them write their own questions, and then I'm working towards everybody being able to speak up in a whole group discussion, but I at least make sure they share in pairs first so that everybody gets to talk. So that's great. What else did we do? I want them to understand the story that we're reading and think about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what English teachers do.
Of course. It's also cool. English teachers are referred to as being the most, chill teachers, or at least I've known, because a lot of people say, well, this teacher's kind of like this, teacher's like that. But English teachers, as from my experience, are always super cool. And you're one of the coolest, if not the coolest English teacher I've had.
Okay, that's really sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Truthfully, you're also very open with a lot of things, and that's really great. How important is that in our day and age? Because you have a lot of groups emerging, a lot of ethnicities becoming more popular and becoming more part of a culture than before. How important is that in our society today?
Oh, I think that's really important, especially for white people like me, to be open to learning, and not just to be stuck in our own little comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Really, really important. And of course, I've been lucky because I have a multicultural family, so I've been exposed to it for a really long time and have learned to have my mind opened when I didn't even realize it was closed.
Ooh,
that's really true.
That was
really
good.
True. Like about stupid stuff, like my husband would tell a joke and I'd be like, that doesn't even make sense. But it's because he was translating, and of course it makes sense in the culture that it was coming from. So that's been a whole learning process for me, for instance, So, my turn.
Okay.
So we have a multicultural school, but we also don't have a multicultural school because we are like 85% one culture. So do you think that our school culture is accepting of the idea of multiple cultures? Do you think different cultures at our school get along well and interact well and understand each other? Because you have a perspective I don't have. Because you're,
a student
in the student body, and you hear things I don't hear. Because to me, everything looks great from the perspective of a teacher. Because I see only what's happening in the classroom. So what do you think?
It's fine in my opinion. I'm the majority in this school technically. Latin, Latino. So I might not have the same experience as if I was a Latino and that had a Latino minority population. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what I've grown up with. So the people I talk to, the people I'm cool with, they're Latino, or they have Latino at least inheritance somewhere or another. It's kind of hard to say that I know somebody that's white, like white. Just pure down white family, or like pure African American. I don't really know somebody like that, but if there is somebody, I'm fine with it. But it's not like there's problems because I don't like this certain race or this certain race or this or that. But in my opinion, I'm fine with it. It doesn't come into conflict with me being a student, and there are certain groups get better along with others, but it's not like the other groups discriminate because of the other skin tone or whatnot. It's just you get more along with these people, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that you don't get along as well with the other people. It's just how things are naturally, I believe.
And what about, I'm going to ask this because I'm the advisor for this club, but what about like for the LGBTQ, et cetera, community? Because I feel like in the classroom, if anything like that comes up, it feels like people are pretty accepting. I usually give out at least one thing for people to write about, like an article to read and write about, and there's usually, out of all my classes, just only a couple of people that have really strong, like painfully strong feelings against. But on the other hand, they're writing for an audience that they know is me. So what do you think the attitude is towards that community here at the school?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not as forward in thinking as race, because race has had a huge movement with it. You're not going to say something to an African American the same way you would to someone who is LGBTQ in our current day and age. And although it might seem like that's not true, it is true. I can't go and discriminate against an African American without completely being backlash, and rightfully so, because you shouldn't discriminate. But if an LGBTQ member gets discriminated against, it kind of flies under the radar. Yeah, and that's not good.
And you're saying that even for the student body in general?
Oh yeah, no, and it's especially true in our current group, because we're teenagers, we're uncertain of who we really are, and so once you start to realize that people are different than you start to realize that maybe you're different too, and you don't want to be different, so you'll discriminate against those people, when in reality you should be more accepting of them. And it's kind of like, at this point in our teenage years, it's like trying to do guess who's who, and in reality people should just accept. Yeah, people should just accept that it's whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of what makes the things weird. It's like a guess who's what, when in reality a lot of the people who do kind of have those emotions kind of have them hidden and prefer not to tell people, so that's kind of wrong. And those who are open with it are obviously open with it, but even then, you know people because of their sexuality and what they like, which isn't cool, obviously. And I think that's something we obviously have to progress with. Something you can't. I personally, want to teach my kids and whatnot, but I can't really make a change at our current school with doing that. And teachers will obviously be open with it, but ultimately comes down to parents and their students and their children.
But you guys are going to grow up.
Mm-hmm. No,
and
yeah.
then the world is yours. I see a lot of change happening, I think, from the time that when it was completely, I didn't have an open, a school that was open, like a student body, I didn't have any friends that were open to the idea of being LGBT, anything but absolutely ordinary, whatever ordinary was at that time. Right? So this is like 45 years ago or so, and I just see a huge change. So I'm glad it's changing, even if it's not perfect yet. Hopefully, I don't think we'll ever get to perfection, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not human nature. But I think we made a lot of progress.
Yeah, no.
It's your turn.
Oh boy, man, you left me in a strange position, because now I don't know what to say. But
we could totally switch subjects.
No, it's fine. I like to throw one out. So how about being as a teacher, have people come up to you and discuss those problems?
Yes.
And if so, how do you resolve it? Especially, I want to hear more about the negative side of it, like being against those ideals. Do you try and convince the people, hey, maybe you should try and look at it from this way? Or do you say, well, I respect your opinion, but just don't make it public?
Okay, so, that's a great question. So when it comes to people's writing, when I give them things to write about, and that's usually one of the topics I give people to write about, I do want to be respectful of people's opinions, because I don't I think teachers have a lot of power in terms of their opinions, and I don't really feel like I should be deciding how somebody thinks. Although I might propose, have you ever thought about it this way? I really don't want to come across as pushing my ideas on anybody. So in their writing, I find that most kids try to be balanced. They'll say how they feel, but they'll also, like, they might feel well, because of my religion, I'm very opposed to this. For instance, like, most kids seem to be accepting, at least on paper, right? But then you have kids that they want to tell you, oh, well, I don't believe in this at all, and it's against my religion, and I'm not okay with this. But I do think that people shouldn't be bullied, and I do think people should be left alone. Like, that's mostly in terms of negativity what I will hear. But then there are the couple of kids that are so triggered by the topic that they can't even begin to express themselves in a balanced way. And what comes across is really difficult to read. And then I struggle with how to respond to that, because it's inappropriate what they're saying, and I see that how triggered they are. And so those are the ones that are the hardest. And so I try to explain the kind of words that they're using are loaded and that's not academic, and to try to help them find language that's more diplomatic to still express their point of view, which is a point of view, of course, that I disagree with, but that's the difficulty. And then you asked me also about, have I had a kid come up and talk to me about being discriminated against? No, I don't think so. But I have had kids come and talk to me about issues that they're having, which I guess a little bit can involve discrimination, but we're so lucky at the school because we have a peer group that addresses these issues, and we have somebody who's a specialist to talk to, so that's helpful. And one time, it was the problem that they were having, that they felt that somebody wasn't understanding them, and had come across poorly, and it was a person that works at this school, and I went and talked to that person and just let them know about the situation, so that I wanted to make sure that I thought maybe they didn't come across the way that they meant to, which is what they said to me, that was, yeah, it's hard because you want to be an advocate. It's hard. But I haven't had anybody come to me and say that other kids are harassing them. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I think I would turn to our peer leadership mm-hmm. for that. What do you think?
Ooh.
Like it, I mean.
About in particular.
About what should teachers do?
And in the same.
I think there's teachers here. There used to be a teacher here that definitely had issues himself, but he's not here anymore. Mm. I don't know if there's more, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, definitely. In the meantime, before that, could you perhaps move the mic a little? I don't know if you can bend it, but mine's kind of bent like this, and if you can, I don't know. I just
Am
thought.
Am I doing better? Is that okay? You want me to move it all together?
Just if we can stick out.
Oh, these things that I don't know about. How's that? It doesn't want to.
Maybe if you can point it up. Either way, whatever works. Just.
It said no. Look, it's in the loose part. Do you know how to do this?
Ooh.
Do that.
Just, I think you clip right here.
Will it still clip on?
Yeah, you just have to have it in one of the things.
You have to have it both?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to try. I did it. Wow. Look at that.
That's cool.
Success. How's that?
Yeah.
Do you approve now?
Yeah. Can you pull it back a little?
This way?
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah, actually that works.
This
yeah.
way.
That way.
Okay.
I just don't want it to interfere with the clothing. Maybe that causes some static. I don't know though.
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Do you want to go push pause and rewind and see?
You know what?
I guess rewind is an outdated word.
Yeah, nah, it's fine. And I bet especially like that, it's extra fun. Okay. Might stand out a little, but I think the conversation is much more engaging than then it's sticking out. But
then you never know.
Then I never know. Either way. So what should teachers do if they know about that? Or, well, teachers are obviously the people who teach the future. So I think they should have open minds about it. And if they don't, it's not really necessarily a good thing to become a teacher, because obviously you should be open to opinions if you're going to become a teacher and not...
Or at least hold yours
in
reserve.
Yeah, obviously. Because if not, then you're going to influence a whole generation to think one way, and then that's going to cause a domino effect. So it's definitely important to keep at least the classroom educational and not advocate anything, because, politics is obviously off the table. So, things about gender, race, everything should also be off the table.
Completely? Or do you think it's okay for a teacher to say how they feel and then still be open to what students think?
Well, as long as they don't enforce it onto the students. If they say, I think this way, what do you guys think? As long as they're not saying, I think this way, you should think this way, mm-hmm. and no matter what anybody tells you, you should not oppose what I say. As long as they bring it up and it's a discussion, then it's fine. As long as, teachers are sometimes idolized. So as long as they present it in the appropriate manner, and they're not saying it in a way in which the student will say, oh, you know what, my teacher said this. Maybe I should think about it like this. Even though it's a discussion, they'll still take that little bit. So as long as they're not presenting it in a wrong manner, it's fine, in my opinion.
So you go to the school and you've had a lot of teachers. Do you think most teachers do that?
I mean, they keep it open. They don't mention what they do. They don't mention their outside life. So I think that's fine. Most are accepting. But I have honors, so I wouldn't really know if there are other teachers outside of the campus, outside of my own grasp that think that same way. Because you can't keep track of all of the teachers. So if I were to ask some other student, maybe they would think differently. But I really can't tell. My personal opinion, yeah, everybody's accepting. Nobody except, I think you're the person who has dared to push the border the most in terms of what we can talk about, which I think is better. But, nobody has really ever mentioned things about sexuality, race and discussion is kind of like an easy topic in the sense that it's like, oh, well, you know what, these events happened. How do you feel about these events? But it's not really like you can say, oh, there was a march on LGBTQ. How do you think about this? As easily as the race thing. Because even then, we're just so accustomed to race being okay and an off-topic topic that discussion kind of is like simple, Nobody's going to go to discussion and say, hey, guys, I think, African Americans, are this, and that, and the kids are probably going to be like, that's wrong.
Right, so nobody's going to be overtly racist.
Yeah.
But still, there's plenty to talk about with regards to ethnicity and race, mm-hmm. in terms of implicit bias, for instance. There's still lots to talk about. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we talk about it enough.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think a lot of teachers are afraid to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. And I agree, especially, and then kids more than anything are the ones afraid, in my opinion, because they don't want to be seen wrongly by their peers, mm-hmm. when in reality they should be more open with it. But it's just,
But if we come down on a ton of bricks for somebody who might have said something in a way that they didn't quite mean in trying to get their idea out, then it's just going to shut them up. Mm-hmm. And so that's the hard part, because I kind of feel like that's part of the culture right now, is to really come down hard on people that say the wrong thing, when sometimes it just takes, you have to say something like, well, couldn't it be like this? And then people explain the other side, and then you're like, oh, I see, I was way off base. But you need to be given a chance to do that. Is it still okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of there was an author who tried to be really considerate about how she wrote her book, and then she put out her book, and then people really criticized her, and then she apologized and she withdrew her book completely. And that's sad, if she really tried not to be that. And I've seen articles like that a lot. So I think people are trying and need a chance to not be hated, but to just adjust. I don't know. It's a very complicated topic that I think about a lot, actually. So I'm afraid, but that my husband's going to get here soon to pick me up.
Cool. Okay. If you don't mind, one last question.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm sure we have at least 4 minutes.
Okay. That's good enough. That should be enough.
So sorry, audience.
Okay. Before you go, what would you say to those LGBTQ members, those possibly minorities? What would you say to those people who feel like they're the underdogs, they're the people who aren't really appreciated as much as the other people, aren't seen as highly as those others? What do you say to them, and how can they stay confident, especially knowing that the world is slightly improving each day?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. First of all, I would say that there are many of us that are on your side, and we want there to be a voice and a platform for you to be heard, because if your voices aren't heard, then other people can't learn to adjust their thinking. So I don't know. That's what I'd like to provide space for, is for people's voices to just be heard, so we can, because if you don't ever hear somebody's voice, you don't know that perspective even exists. So how can you consider it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have some brilliant answer.
That's fine. No, that was fine. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
That time flew by. That was so fun.
Exactly.
I can't believe it. I looked up at the clock and I was like, oh, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yep. Exactly. That's why. 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Originally, when I talked with Brit Talk, it was an hour, but it actually got cut in half because I didn't have storage on my phone. So, sadly, the full hour wasn't recorded.